What's up YouTube, how are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Charlie and I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. So as you can see from the title, the topic of today's video is on resilience and how to become less injury prone. The reason why I decided to make this video for you guys today is because I personally am very injury prone. This was the thing at the top of my list, or the thing that benefited me the most. Once I'd actually dialed this down and started doing this correctly, this was the thing that benefited me more than anything. So I feel like making a video on this and sort of sharing the process of how I done it and how I came to be way more resilient. You know, I haven't had an injury in ages now. I'm not sure if anyone else had the same issue as me, but I just remember feeling like I was injured 95% of the time. You know, I was never able to actually get any training in because I was putting all of my mental energy and capacity into recovering and ensuring that I don't get injured or trying to recover from injuries that have already happened. And I just remember feeling like I was stuck in this loop. I would recover and then I'd be out for another 3 weeks after one training session, and it was only until I realized that nearly all of the problems that I was having was down to discipline and a lack of discipline to stick to my own plans that I've created for myself. And you know, it doesn't matter if you could be given the most perfect plan in the world by the best trainer in the world who knows everything about recovery, and if you're not disciplined enough to stick to that plan and do it correctly and follow it through completely, then it's not going to work. So that's the number one thing I want to say to you guys, is that more often than not, your problem is going to be that you're just not doing it properly. You know, before I start getting into this video and telling you guys what I done to become less injury prone, I want to just mention that the best thing you can do is go out and do your own research. So obviously once you've watched this video, go and watch other videos, go and see what other people have to say, because you know, individuality comes into it as well. What I say for someone, or what worked for me, isn't going to work for someone else, or isn't going to work as well for someone else. And you know, research is the first thing I do, no matter what it is, whether it be about injuries, whether it be about training, whether it be about anything in life, you know, cooking. The best thing you can do is go and do your own research. Find out, you know, get as research from as many sources as you can. Find out information from tons of different sources, piece it together and make your own plan, your own way that you're going to become, you know, less injury prone in your sport. And you know, this comes down to enhancing recovery. Anything, whether it be your physical training, whether it be mental training, anything you want to do, you need to go and do your own research and devise your own plan, because someone else's plan isn't going to work that well for you. But yeah, so to just jump straight into the process of what I done really. Now, like I say, I felt like I was in a complete loop of just being injured all the time. And the first step I needed to take was, I spoke to one of my lecturers at university, I think, and they told me that the best thing I can do is just take a good month or two off training, you know, sort of just try and reset everything, get everything working well, and in that process, do your own research and figure out what you need to do for your sport. And at the time, I was doing distance running, and I sort of remember what I would do is I'd go, it doesn't matter if it was a track session or it was an extremely slow recovery run, I would literally start running, and after 2 minutes I'd have a problem with my IT band in my knee, and then it would be shin splints, and then it'd be my hip flexors, and you know, all these things were just causing me so many problems. I wasn't actually able to get any training in. And you know, once I spent that time sort of sitting down and looking through the research and, you know, what kind of stuff do I actually need to do, I had that time to sort of recover. And after that recovery period, I remember getting really agitated and wanting to get back out training, but I just remember I had to keep telling myself, you know, the most important thing I can do here is let myself recover. And you know, one of the things I found out whilst doing that is, I mean, you're probably going to guess what I'm going to say next, but stretching and warming up. I mean, you don't understand how important that is. And it comes back to the start where I said discipline. What the problem that most of you are probably having is that you're not sticking to that stretching plan properly. You're not sticking to those warm-ups, and you're just not doing them thoroughly enough. You can know everything about warming up and stretching, but if you're not willing to actually sit through every single second of it, you know, and not just skip the last 3 seconds, or not go, oh, it's nice and warm today, I don't need to warm my muscles up, you know, you have to do it no matter what. And quite often people aren't doing them long enough. What I often found myself doing was, you know, going down to the athletics track and doing some, you know, leg swings and stuff like that, and just static stretches, and I'd run one lap and then that was it. I'd say I'm warmed up and stretched, but you got to realize that there's a lot more to warming up and stretching than that. You have to spend 15-20 minutes, sometimes even an hour stretching, and it's having that mental discipline, like I said, and that mental fortitude, and being able to sit through that, or not sit through that, but you know, like work through that boredom and just get it done. Because what is the point in skipping a warm-up to get your workout done quicker and then getting injured and then being out of training for 3 weeks? There's just no point. You might as well just do it properly while you can. So one thing that worked for me really well in terms of, you know, warming up and stretching was yoga. And I mean, a lot of people think, you know, yoga's gay and it's not for men, it's not for boys, you know, athletes don't do yoga. But you know, you're completely wrong, because my performance took a massive turn once I started doing yoga. You don't understand how much it's benefited me. What I started doing is, you know, I created a playlist. I mean, this is what I recommend you do as well. Get on YouTube, find some good, you know, good yoga sessions. For example, what I would often do is I would search on YouTube for pre-cycling stretch routines and yoga routines, and then I would find a post yoga routine as well. And I'll stick all of those in a playlist, and I'd gather as many sort of good stretching videos as I could, the ones that I could actually do, I'd trial them out, you know, because sometimes I can't, because personally I'm not very flexible. What I'd recommend for you guys in terms of stretching and like yoga and stuff like that would be to find the kind of yoga routines that you can actually do for your flexibility and, you know, your strength and stuff like that. Once you've gathered those videos that you can, put them all in a playlist together. And the best recommendation I can tell you is to find pre-workout ones and post-workout ones. So for example, if you're a runner, you want to find pre-workout, you know, pre-cycling yoga session and then a post-cycling yoga session, one to sort of loosen you up and get everything moving and get the blood flowing before you go out on the bike. And then afterwards you want one that's going to loosen the body up, you know, try and remove some of that lactate, and do the same kind of process. And like I said, discipline, you've got to make sure you stick to that training, you've got to stick to that yoga plan. And you've got to do that session beforehand, you've got to do that session afterhand every single time, and you don't skip any of it. You know, if you've got a yoga plan to do before you go out on the bike and one to do afterwards, making sure that you stick to that and do every single second of that stretching is absolutely imperative. You know, you're not gonna get there if you don't stick to your plan. One of the things that worked for me really well was using a program called Final Surge, which is kind of similar to Training Peaks, which a lot of you probably know. This won't really, I'm not sure if this would really work for like bodybuilders and stuff like that, but what I would do is I would find those YouTube videos and get them out of my playlist, you know, the stretching ones I had to do before my training and the ones I had to do after my training. I would get those links and I'd copy them into my training program. So every time I went to see what training I had, I can see that yoga plan that I have to do, and then I'd just click on the link and it would take me straight to the videos. I really recommend you guys do that. Have a look at Final Surge. It's completely free for athletes, but I think you have to pay for coaches, but I mean, it's perfect for most people. Okay, so I now want to talk to you guys about resistance training, because resistance training for injury prevention and building resilience, whole body resilience and mental resilience, is extremely different to, you know, resistance training to gain size or strength. And this comes back to the start where I mentioned, you know, research and going out and finding out your own research and what you need to do for your sport specifically. And that's what I'd say for this as well. Go out and find out what kind of resistance training, you know, other athletes in your sport do, and what things are going to work best for you, because individually I might do something in my strength training that isn't going to work for you, or something that you don't like doing or you just can't do. So, you know, find out what's best for you, and then once you know what to do a little bit of research into periodization. Find out when's the best time I can do strength training in my plan. If I've got races in, like, I don't know, a couple of months time, I'm not going to start doing resistance training now in my high intensity training period. What you'd want to do is set your resistance training, this is with most sports, in your base training period or your winter training. You know, when you're building up those cold hard miles, whether it be running, cycling, you know, rowing, water sports, it doesn't matter what it is. Every sport is going to have a base training period where they're going to train high volume, and then they're going to slowly taper down into high intensity and lower volume, and then they're going to taper further, you know, before a race. But you got to work out at what period am I going to start doing my strength training, and then once you've incorporated that strength training into your plan, make an adapted version that you can continue to do throughout the season, that's going to be just enough to, you know, maintain strength and prevent muscular asymmetries and stuff like that. You're going to gain a number of things from doing resistance training. Like number one, like I mentioned, would be muscular asymmetries. You want to be able to prevent that. You want to improve your bone density. That's going to happen through resistance training. You want to improve the strength of your ligaments and tendons. That'll all happen through heavy resistance training. And you have to bear in mind that heavy resistance training for me or you could be very different to a massive bodybuilder, you know, who's training for strength or doing, you know, training Olympic lifts. You have to remember that heavy resistance training for me is going to be very different for heavy resistance training to you. If you compare Mo Farah to Usain Bolt, they're both going to be doing resistance training. They're going to both be doing strength training as a part of their plans, but they're going to be very different, because what Usain Bolt can tolerate, Mo Farah probably can't tolerate. It doesn't mean they're not both amazing athletes. They are both amazing athletes, but they've got very different physiques. They have a different sport. I mean, they both run, but their sports are very different in terms of the demands on the body, and therefore they require different resistance training. So you have to find out what is going to work best for you. I mean, that's what I done. I started making sure that I was more disciplined with the plans that I set myself. I was then making sure that I stick to all of the stretching and the warm-up routines that I had to do, and I would quite often dedicate whole days to just stretching and, you know, just recovery, rolling, myofascial release, just, you know, releases like knots and any blockages that you might have, and allows the blood to flow freely through the muscles. I then started looking into nutrition. You know, what stuff does my body need to be able to recover from a hard training session, whether that be a high volume session or a high intensity training session. And I was quite shocked to find out that, you know, there's lots of minerals, vitamins, and just loads of other things that I thought I didn't need. I just originally thought I just need to get the protein in, but like I said, there's so many other things that you need to get in. So go and find out, you know, what does the body need? Bare minimum, making sure you're getting in the right nutrients and minerals and, you know, the right stuff to actually recover. Once I dialed down the nutrition, I started making sure I had enough sleep. Try and get 8 hours of sleep every single night. That's going to help you massively with your recovery. That's also going to help with your ability to prevent injuries. If your body's more recovered and more fresh at the start of a training session, there is much less chance you're going to get injured if you had enough sleep and you're feeling fresh the morning of training. And finally, like I said, resistance training, you know, incorporating that resistance training, that strength training into your program. I was originally going to make a whole video on the importance of strength training for endurance sports. If you are an endurance athlete watching this, whether it be a runner, a cyclist, a cross-country skier, don't fall into the trap of believing that resistance training isn't for you. You often hear people saying that it makes you gain unnecessary weight, or it ruins your muscle fiber type, overstimulates your fast twitch fibers and ruins your endurance capabilities, and that's completely wrong. These things are very easy to control, and there are tons of studies out there saying that there are massive benefits to performing mild to heavy resistance training for endurance athletes. And you know, there's loads of other things I can mention, such as ice bathing, which I also do. I don't do that as a physical thing, I do that as a way to train me mentally. For me personally, that's a mental thing. I feel that, you know, getting in an ice bath and looking at the freezing cold water and then putting myself through that pain is a way to improve my sort of mental resilience and my self-discipline. Like I said, self-discipline is single-handedly the most, you know, important factor in becoming more resilient and more able to stick to the training you've set yourself. Okay, so that's it for today's video. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you like the video and comment any advice. You know, I'm here. I would love to see some constructive criticism on the channel, because I personally know that I'm not that great at content creating yet, and I'm probably missing out stuff. But yeah, like if there's anything that you want me to go into with more depth as well, put that in the comments, or send me a DM on my Instagram page. My Instagram is linked to my YouTube channel, so that should be nice and easy to do. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.